Hey LeGrand Alive, welcome to Coffee with Will, brought to you by Grand Ron Hospital, Northwest Furniture and Mattress, Anything to Digital, EO&I, and Les Schwab Tire Center. And I'm here today with Wes Williams, who is a local attorney and is running for Circuit Court Judge of the 10th Oregon District, which is Union and Wallowa counties. And he's here today to talk with me a little bit about himself and his candidacy. So thank you, Wes, so much for joining me here today. So yes. Tell me a little bit about your journey from being a homegrown Oregon boy coming out of Oregon City to being an attorney in LeGrand.
Well, grew up on a small farm outside of, I asked you this earlier, but you don't know where Eagle Creek is. No one does.
No, I have no idea where Eagle Creek is.
You know where Estacada is.
Ish, yes.
Okay, so 8 miles east of Estacada is if you're going towards Mount Hood. That's timber country, and there are some small farms out there. Okay. And my family had a small farm out there that I was raised on. It was my grandpa's farm. My grandpa and grandma lived there, and my family lived there as well, and we all ran the farm together.
Wow.
My father worked in construction because you have to do that when you have a small farm, to keep the farm going.
Yeah, no, totally.
And so, I don't know how old you are, Will, but you probably don't remember. 1979 is when I graduated from high school, and that was a really tough year for the timber country.
Oh, okay.
And it was tough then for farmers too, of course tough for builders as well. So I had planned on just staying on the farm and then working with my dad in construction, but I planned on just staying there and had no idea I was going to go to college.
Yeah.
But I couldn't. There wasn't enough room on the farm now.
Yeah.
And the construction industry was taking a dive.
It was tanking.
I couldn't get a job at the mill because the Milwaukee plywood mill that was between Eagle Creek and Estacada had shut down.
Huh.
They were down to one shift at the Estacada mill. And so one of my teachers asked me, what do you plan on doing? And I said, well,
I don't know.
I don't know. It's going to have a hard time getting a job now. And he said, well, why don't you go to college? And I said, I'm not going to go to college. I didn't think I was smart enough.
So what you're saying is, what I'm hearing from you is that you were not going to go to college, and then somehow you ended up deciding to go and study law. That doesn't normally happen.
Yeah. Well, what happened at first is I said, well, I can't afford it, obviously. And in my view, only rich kids went to college.
Sure.
And he said, no, you can do it. You can get work study, and you can get loans. And I qualified for a Pell Grant because of my GPA in high school. And so I went to college, went to Southern Oregon. And I was able to get work study job working nights. So I worked Monday through Thursday as a janitor, cleaning out the student union at night.
Wow.
And then worked, and went to school during the day, and it was great. I mean,
wow, yeah, that sounds, stay up all night and clean, go to study law during the day. Sure, that sounds awesome.
Well, I was just studying history then.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And so I was just working on my bachelor's. I didn't know if I was going to go to law school. So I got a degree, a bachelor's degree, and got a teaching certificate. And then I taught for 7 years at Sandy High School. And so I left college thinking, okay, I want to go to law school, but not being able to afford it. So I got a job teaching social studies at Sandy High School. I taught history and law and justice and geography.
Wow.
And then saved up enough money. When I saved up enough money, that took about 7 years. Then I went to law school. But almost stayed teaching because I like teaching. So then I went to law school at U of O.
Oh, okay.
And studied there.
So you said the words, I wanted to study law. Now, not many people say those words over the course of their lives. You know, it takes a very special kind of someone to actually say, I want to read all these massive books with very technical lingo. Why law? Why did you want to go and do that?
I was concerned about social justice issues. Well, I had read To Kill a Mockingbird about 3 times by then. Teaching was very fulfilling, And if I was going to go to law school, I wanted it to have a practice to where I could just work with people like the people I grew up with, solving problems. And so that's why I went. And figured, well, when I got out, I'd set up a small practice working with farmers like my family and people that were having issues with their life. And try to help out as best I could.
Now that's very interesting to me, because a lot of times, the concepts of working on social justice and doing that in like a rural town, you don't hear those happen very often. A lot of times social justice is more oriented around urban areas, around population centers. Yet you decided that you were going to exercise your passion for it in a rural area with people who were like you. Why did you make that decision? Why did you decide to stay in rural Oregon to work with people like farmers, people who were more rural?
Well, I didn't want to live in the city.
That always helps.
And I didn't even like living in Eugene. And so after my first year, I got a small cabin outside of town, about 30 miles outside of Eugene, where I lived with my now wife, Jenny. Met her during law school. And so we wanted to locate in a rural area. And it had to be, of course, a county seat where the courthouse was. And so I did this is probably going to sound really nerdy, but so I did a demographic analysis of several rural communities.
Perfect. That's what I do when I'm trying to decide to live somewhere.
And so and we had a ranch for a short period of time in Kimberly, Oregon, but we had lost it and then went back to live at my grandpa's farm. And so I always wanted to come back out to Eastern Oregon. And I used to hunt out here with my grandpa and my dad. And a fellow I used to teach high school with, Tim Troutman. Do you know Tim?
I don't.
Well, Tim had moved, I was teaching with him at Sandy High School, and he moved to La Grande to teach at Elgin. And he told me it was a great place to live. And so I came out and visited him. And it was a great place. And we wanted to raise our children here, which we have now, raised them here. And there was a need, I felt, for a lawyer that wanted to have a mixed practice of transactional work, like drafting deeds, wills, and contracts, and have a trial practice as well. The problem with litigation work from the client's perspective, from the citizen's perspective, is it's difficult to afford. And so if you're going to do that, you need to be able to reduce your fees so you can take a case, say if a client's roof has been blown off and the insurance company won't pay to fix it. That's going to be a long and involved litigation. And the problem is a lot of people can't afford to get justice. They can't afford to go against an insurance company or a big bank or the U.S. government unless they've got a lot of money. And so you've got to be willing to do those cases for a lower rate, or sometimes nothing.
No rate
sometimes
at all.
pro bono, or take it to trial and hope you can recover your attorney fees if you're victorious for your client at trial. From an insurance company or a bank or the U.S. government. So we had one case that lasted, I think the entire case was probably 8 years, but I think in federal court it was probably about half that. They were trying to take my client's house away.
Oh, wow.
She lived up on 4th Street. We won the state case, so she was able to keep her house. It was a criminal forfeiture case. Someone in the basement, unbeknownst to her, was selling marijuana. And so the state came in and wanted to take her house away from her. So we had to win that first. So we won the state case and she was able to keep her house. Then the day we were in court getting that case dismissed so she could keep her house, we were served by the federal marshals with a civil forfeiture action where the U.S. government was trying to take her house.
Wow.
And so it all started over again for her. Well, of course, she can't afford to pay this rate. And so we litigated it against the U.S. Attorney's Office for several more years. And about a month before trial, we thought we had a really good defense for. The U.S. Attorney's Office wanted to settle, and they settled, and she got her whole house back.
Wow.
And so that allowed us, to get her to keep her house for her. And I walked by the house every day.
Wow, that's got to be kind of a nice little like.
I used to walk by that house on my way to the office every day. I'd walk to that house and just go, my God, we have got to win this case. And, you worry about it all the time. You wake up and you worry about these cases. And now, of course, Jenny and I can walk by it and go, that's still Kathy's house.
That is a nice little affirmation of like every day going to work while you're doing it.
Yeah. So so that was a nice ending. They're not always the best endings, but you give it the best shot you can.
Yeah.
And so, but then you do the other kind of work as well. So we do a lot of deeds and a lot of contracts and a lot of wills.
So it kind of sounds like to me that this sort of the reason that you went into law was really a passion for justice for people who couldn't necessarily pay for or get justice for themselves. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Well, my dad was a builder. My grandfather was a farmer, and things happen on the farm. And we had, lightning storms where the generator quit and we couldn't get it going, and we'd lose a batch of livestock that was in the barn, in that particular case chickens, or my father wouldn't get paid for building a house or a pole barn. They couldn't afford to go to a lawyer.
Yeah.
They tried, and so those are things you remember when you're young. And so when I started practicing law, I just wanted to make sure that at least a portion of my practice would be dedicated to people seeking justice. And that could be because the bank's foreclosing on their home, or that could be because their roof was blown off of their barn and the insurance company won't pay to cover it, or it could be because they're charged with a crime wrongfully. And so you do what you can for them. And you don't make a lot of money, but you feel good. And so you can feel good about what you've done.
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
So now, that being said, you've been practicing in LeGrand for how many years now?
21 years. It'll be 22 years in August.
Been doing this for 21 years, 22 years. And you've had your small practice, you're not, it's kind of interesting, your office is not like, it's not very, like you can't see it if you don't really know that it's there. I've only recently learned that, you're on the second story of that building, You've had your practice, you've sort of been looking for justice for people in that way, giving your time, giving your passion for that. But now you've decided that you want to move into a circuit court judge position. How does that translate? How does that same passion that kind of makes you maybe take the jobs that aren't as well paying or even not paying at all translate into your decision for actually running for circuit court judge?
Well, when you become a lawyer, especially if you're a trial lawyer, which is about half of my practice, you take an oath to represent your client zealously. You take that oath before the Oregon Supreme Court.
Yeah.
As a judge, that's not your oath. You're not an advocate. You have to be neutral. And so I'll take a different oath. And that oath will be to be neutral and to decide a case based on the facts and the laws presented. But both require a lot of work.
Yeah.
And being a judge is going to require just as much hard work as being a lawyer. And the key here, I think, is just to make sure that everybody that comes before you, if it's fortunate enough to be me, everybody that came before me knows that they're being heard and that they're being respected. We deal with a lot of people that have had bad days, and a lot of people that have had life turn around on them. And you got to be able to listen to them and understand what they're going through and then solve the problem. That's what we do as lawyers. As a judge, you've got to be able to, and I'm going to be able to, I trust, to listen carefully to people and understand what they're going through. And it's not, I think I might be better able to do that because of my background. Because, you know, we've been there. I've wondered, you know, God, are we going to lose the farm this year? Because that hail just knocked all of our blueberries off the vine.
Yeah.
And it was tough. I was going to say this, but just to be honest with you, it was tough paying my own way through college.
Yeah.
And I know what it's like not to know where your next paycheck's going to come from.
Yeah.
And I know what it's like to say, look, I'm going to just work this weekend, buck in hay, and get as many jobs as I can, and work during the week. So I've got more money to go to college on when it comes. So I've got the time to take off to study, to do well in class.
Yeah.
And so people have hard times, and that's just part of being a citizen. And I think if they become before a judge, it's important that that judge know and be able to empathize with them. And I think that's what it's about, quite frankly.
Yeah.
You know.
So that's interesting, you know, because I mean, compassion, you know, justice is oftentimes sort of seen as it's very neutral. It's very sort of not uncompassionate, but it's very, the scales are being balanced kind of a thing. So, you know, but it sounds like you see compassion and justice as sort of intrinsically linked in being able to fulfill that. Is that accurate?
Well, you've got to be able to see the forest for the trees. As lawyers, we can get so involved in the technicalities. And I find myself, you have to be able to get to understand in the technicalities of a contract, for example, if your client's been wronged.
Yeah.
Or the technicalities of a statute. If you're going to have to be able to explain it to a court so your client can get justice. But you've got to see the big picture too. And that's the struggle of being a lawyer. You know, someone brings you a problem. Maybe it's a contract would be that. And you read that contract carefully. You try to find if there's been a breach, where there's been a breach, what the solutions are, and you try to bring the parties together, call the other lawyer, and solve the problem. Hopefully it doesn't go to litigation. But if it does, you've got to still be able to try to solve that problem. Without costing the client too much money, without costing the client too much grief, and still getting to the end product of making sure they can move on with their life. And as a judge, you've got to understand those problems too. I think it helps if someone's practiced a wide variety of law. So when litigants come before you, it's an issue you've dealt with before.
Wow, very cool. Oh, go ahead. Were you going to say
No,
finish? Yeah. It reminds me a lot of, you know, Kelsey McDaniel, our DA, who recently was reelected. You know, she said to me once on one of these coffees with Liz, she said, "No one comes to visit me on a Wednesday afternoon for fun." You know, when someone comes to see her, they're not having a good day. No one just drops into the DA's office to like, oh yeah, you know, I just thought I'd come over and have a cup of coffee with you and talk. You know, it's like, these people that she sees are having some of the worst times in their entire lives. Whether or not their case is justified or whatever, you know, whatever, they are having some horrible times. And her passion is helping, especially the victims, through that process and understanding and having compassion for them in that process.
And she does a really good job listening and understanding them and solving their problems. And that's the same with every lawyer. So when people come in, and we've had a lot of people cry at the conference table at the first meeting. And then a lot of times when we're done with the case, you know, we shake hands with the client, things worked out, and they say, but I don't want to see you in here again. They say, we'll see you at Saturday Market. Maybe we'll see you at Anthony Lakes Fishing. But God, I don't. And
the goal is to not have someone come back into the room.
The difference would be if they're coming in for a will, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe a property transaction. like writing a deed or conveying property.
There are
So-
few businesses in which
Right.
the goal is to get the person to not come back for a repeat
Right.
visit.
So it's you deal with a lot of people that are really stressed, and you
Yeah.
go home thinking. And after doing it for 21 years, and I know this happens to all, it must happen to all lawyers, that you just, I mean, I go home, I've got a great wife, 2 great kids, and I just think, you know, there but for the grace of God go I. You know,
Yeah.
it just, people have bad days, mistakes happen, and you just try to help them solve those problems. And you hear a lot of that, and you just got to be able to sift through those issues and resolve it for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Wes, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your heart with me on this. This has been really good, and I really appreciate you. If somebody is interested in kind of getting to know you more as a candidate or getting, you know, connected with you more, is there a way that somebody could get connected?
Oh yeah, they could just call my office,
Okay.
962-0896, or call my cell phone, 962-5930. People call me after hours. People call me on weekends. If a lot of times I can answer their questions over the phone, no charge. If they want to talk to me about my candidacy or why I think I'd make a good judge, they can just call me anytime or just drop by the office.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I'm there just to listen
Absolutely.
and to answer questions. And so, yeah, people can call me up anytime. Or
Perfect.
stop by my house. I'm usually on the front porch reading a book. It's a nice day.
Absolutely. Well,
Okay.
my fiance is actually his wonderful wife is my fiance's landlord, or landlady. So sometimes I find myself on his porch with her, but she's giving him money. She's giving him money, not talking to him about his candidacy. All right. Well, thank you so much, Wes. And when is the one last quick question? When is the election coming up?
It'll be the general election, and voting day is November 6th.
November 6th.
The ballots will come out, I trust, about 2 weeks before that, for the mail-in ballots. And so that's when voting day is. It's going to be the general election.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Wes. I appreciate it.
you
And
betcha.
thank you, LeGrand Alive. Be sure to stay tuned. We're going to do our best. We very well might be having a Coffee with Will with Wes's competitor in this, Mona Williams, coming up sometime here soon. But for now, thank you to our sponsors, Grand Ron Hospital, Northwest Furniture and Mattress, Anything to Digital, EONI, and Les Schwab Tire Center. These guys are great sponsors. Many of them have been with us for several years. Please be sure to give them a big thank you if you get the opportunity for helping us to provide this programming for you to stay informed. This has been Coffee with Will and Wes Williams. I'm Will Bowman, and we'll see you next time.